Hi, welcome to my views and news. Two news stories. Firstly, Fano fighters entered last night. They entered a town which is close to one of the major cities in the North Wollo zone of the Amhara region. They entered the town, and the town was under their full control a few hours ago. Secondly, Ethiopian quest for access to port ongoing. Now we're hearing about Ethiopian talks with a neighboring country to gain access to a port in this country, not Eritrea. What is the name of this country? Can it be called a country? And what are going to be the consequences if Ethiopia struck a deal with this country? Is it possible for Ethiopia to use this port? Firstly, viewers, Fano fighters are continuing their operations in most parts of the Amhara region. Their activities ongoing, no big change, recruitment, training, ambush attacks, assassinations decreased a little lately, but still we are seeing Fano's activities in the form of ambush and attacks in towns and cities. Last night, Fano fighters were seen in a town very close to a major town in North Wollo. Woldia is in North Wollo, one of the big cities in North Wollo. Fano fighters never managed to take control of Woldia, though we have seen that Fano fighters tried to move towards Woldia, and I think they sent messages to investors, businessmen in Woldia. Some assassinations happened in Woldia, but Fano never managed to launch a big attack in Woldia. No big attack in Woldia, no big attack in Dasi, no major attack in Kambolcha. So, in none of North Wollo cities, Fano has been able to carry out major attacks, except Lalibela. Lalibela is in North Wollo too, and some other parts too. But Wollo, North Wollo, Woldia, South Wollo, Dasi, Kambolcha. Fano has presence in the outskirts, but no major operation in these cities so far. Last night, Fano fighters were seen in Doro Gibber. Doro Gibber is not far away from Woldia, and locals confirmed entry of Fano in Doro Gibber. Obviously, this entry is linked to Fano's advance towards Woldia. Maybe Fano fighters might try to make a move towards Woldia city, but we'll have to wait. Doro Gibber has come under Fano control. Meanwhile, in South Gondar, there was heavy fighting, and Fano fighters are claiming to have captured and killed some military officers. They're claiming to have captured a captain rank officer of the Ethiopian military. There was large scale fighting in South Gondar yesterday. Overall, no big change on the ground. Fano fighters enter town, cities, and when they come under pressure, when ENDF launches military operations, counter operation, Fano fighters withdraw. Pattern is the same, no change on the ground. Intensity of fighting decreases, then it increases. It has been ongoing for months now. In Gujam, in parts of Gujam, Fano fighters have sent messages to people to stay indoors. Maybe they're planning something big in coming days, but reportedly, such messages have been conveyed to locals. If people have been told to stay indoors, it means that businesses will have to be closed too. Traffic flow will be disrupted too. So maybe something big is coming in Gujam. Gujam, totally destabilized, government trying to restore a semblance of normalcy in Gujam. But still, no big change in Gajam. I think there was fighting in Mota 2 days ago. Before that, we saw fighting in most parts of most big towns and cities of East and West Gajam around a week ago. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopian quest for a port is ongoing. Ethiopia exploring more than one options. It wants to keep all options open. Though when we talk about Ethiopian quest for port, mainly we talk about Assab port, that Ethiopia wants access to Assab port because Assab was part of Ethiopia and Eritrea in the past when the two countries were together. So Ethiopia has historical claims to the port of Assab. But whether Ethiopia gains access to Assab or not, Ethiopia is exploring other options too. It seems that Ethiopia has decided that it will not restrict itself to Djibouti's port only. Whether it gets support in Eritrea or not, it wants to diversify use of ports. Alamo Seme Minister of Transport. He visited Lamo port of Kenya a few months ago. Kenya was ready to build a corridor from Lamo to Ethiopia to South Sudan to connect the two countries with its port. And for years, discussions have been ongoing. Kenya ready, Ethiopia held some talks, but we don't know if any agreement has been reached or not. Meanwhile, Somaliland is another self-declared country. People say, Sajid, don't call it a country. Yes, I don't call Somaliland a country. I call it self-declared country, unrecognized by UN, AU, etc. Reportedly, according to the Ethiopian minister, Alamo Seme, Ethiopia is in talks with the Somaliland to use Berbera port. By the way, Berbera port, Ethiopia was a shareholder in Berbera port before the start of the war in Tigray. Ethiopia, I think, owned shares in Berbera port. Ethiopia, Somaliland, DP World of the United Arab Emirates were shareholders and they were to build the port jointly. Ethiopia could not invest because of the war in northern part of the country. DP World constructed the port. Now port is being used by UAE and Somaliland. Both are shareholders. Ethiopia has no shares. Ethiopia wants to regain shares or it wants access to port, maybe in return for something which it can offer to the Somaliland's government or the UAE. But can this arrangement work in the long run? Because Somalia claims that Somaliland is part of Somalia. Can Ethiopia consider long-time use of Berbera port? Can Ethiopia invest in Somaliland? What is going to be the future of Somaliland? So there is uncertainty. That is why maybe Ethiopia is restrained. It is exploring other options too. Options like port in Kenya, in Djibouti already using, Ethiopia is already using the port, and in Eritrea too. So we can sum up that Ethiopia is in talks with all the neighboring countries, not Eritrea, obviously. And Ethiopia wants to get the best price. Maybe in exchange for territory, in exchange for shares in Ethiopian assets. So we'll see what Ethiopia does. Which country gives a better deal to Ethiopian government, that will be clear in coming days. If Ethiopia strikes a deal with Somaliland regarding use of Berbera port, will it then abandon its claim to the Red Sea? Or will it still hold on to its claim to put pressure upon Eritrea to gain access to a support? It's a very important question because Ethiopian interest in Somaliland's ports is not new. As I said, Ethiopia was a shareholder when the construction started. Ethiopia already wanted to have access to Somaliland's port. But this new narrative launched by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia uh, is something more than Ethiopian desire to use a neighboring country's port. Ethiopia wants full rights on the corridor, port, and coast. Which country will agree to this arrangement? That remains to be seen. Thank you for watching.